Let's get started. So yeah, as Timothy mentioned, we're gonna take a look a bit on the kind of general portfolio advice and what kind of applies to everybody. But we're also gonna look at like tailoring it to technical art later on, and as well career advice. Just a little bit section at the end as a bonus. Yeah. So who am I? Technical artist. I currently work at Sumo Digital. I do focus a bit more on kind of artistic tech. So, for example, kind of shaders, lighting. I currently do a lot of. I do a little bit of VFX. Um, Sometimes I touch a bit of optimization and tooling as well, although it's kind of not my main part of my job. And as well, I do occasionally do a bit of environment art. So sometimes they give me a task to do some, or if I run out of tech task, I end up doing some. But I also do some for my portfolio as well. So that's who I am. A bit of my history is I studied at De Montfort 3 years, 2018, 2021. Graduated and I started the next I finished on Friday, then I started my first job kind of on Monday, the same week at DR Studios. That was in May of 2021, and I stayed there for a year and a bit as kind of associate technical artist, which just means junior. And then when I kind of like got bored of that, I moved to Sumo Digital in 2022, and that's where I am now, and have been for a bit. So I'm sure some of you've seen this, but this is my current portfolio, and we'll be kind of diving into all the kind of aspects of what makes a good portfolio today. So let's start. First of all, best work first. You can see why I put this at the very beginning. Most people only look at one or two things before like they exit the site. So it's best to put your kind of like most recent, best, absolute best work at the very beginning. If you're really proud of something, put that there. All the other kind of good, but like not super high tier quality can kind of go further down the back, and especially any kind of articles and stuff can be at the end. It kind of applies the same way to the actual structure of your posts, where you want your beauty shots and your videos and your pretty tooling and anything else at the very beginning, and then you could like put the breakdowns at the end. And also, very importantly, don't upload any unfinished work. It's okay if it's in a breakdown at the bottom of your post, but if it's like a whole post of just something that's unfinished or work in progress, it kind of distracts from like all the good work you have, as well as anything irrelevant to your role. I noticed this a lot in student work where it's like they will add any university work they did, even if it's not for the role they want. So like I did like a character module and a 2D module and traditional drawing in uni, but I wouldn't put that on my portfolio because that's not what I want to work in. It kind of like muddles your intentions, and like it's not relevant, and recruiters won't even look at that, so it's not even useful. I just wouldn't add it at all. Next thing is quality is much better than quantity. So as we touched a bit, it's like don't add anything that's old or irrelevant. As well as like very old work. Like so you can see some of these are like my very first university work. It's very like very low poly and like all hand painted. Like this is not the quality that I have anymore. So I've completely like unpublished all of my old work, which you can do when you manage your portfolio on ArtStation. You don't have to like delete them altogether. They will still stay there, they're just not on your portfolio. It's like your portfolio is only as strong as like your weakest piece. So if you have like a really weak piece on there, it's gonna stand out and it's gonna drag your whole presentation down, unfortunately. So I would not recommend that. Yeah. Next big thing I see is a lot of the same stuff in that, like, a lot of people have, for example, fire hydrants, houses with grass around them. I'm also guilty of this. Or radios or TVs or something that, like, pretty much everybody has done. Or another good example is if there's a really famous tutorial of something, a lot of people will end up making that prop or that thing, and then it will be like really, really popular on ArtStation. You can see like it's barely visible, but there's like about 1,600 posts of just like fire hydrants on ArtStation. So I guarantee whoever is looking at your portfolio to hire you has seen like at least a dozen of like the same thing if it's really popular. So it's much better to make something that like you can't compare to other people. So you can't compare like something unique you've made to if nobody else has done it, it's your own work and it's gonna stand out a lot more in somebody's head. They will remember you a lot more as well. It also keeps you super motivated to work on something if you think it's like, oh, this is my own idea and I really like it and it's really fun. It makes it so much fun to work on, where it's like, I'm gonna add a bunch of fish because I love my fish and it's such a fun project to work on instead of like, oh, I'm just making this for my portfolios just so I get a job, you know? It's completely different. But yeah, that's why you kind of have to make it unique. Oh, you don't have to, but it's a great thing to do. Big thing is lots of breakdowns. So I see a lot of portfolios that have just the beauty shots and just the maybe one or two videos, and it's like, we want to see the behind the scenes as well because it's not a game, it's a show of your skills, and we need proof that you've made it, and as well your thoughts and reasoning behind the method you made it. And like these breakdowns will show us like how you've made this particular thing, as well as any skills or stuff you've gained during it. So what I usually do is have like 2 beauty screenshots, 1 video at least. I usually do 2 or 3 videos just from like different angles or different tools moving around, and a whole bunch of breakdowns at the very bottom. So I had like the breakdown of the jellyfish, and I like separated it into like all the different components. I have like texture breakdowns of things I put on sheets. I showed like a shark moving its fins while it's rigged, and a bunch of material graphs, wireframes, etc. It's all good things to include. Big one, thumbnails. So you don't want very inconsistent thumbnails, like for example have the Unreal logo be tiny and then big and then tiny again, and all like different styles and fonts. It looks like messy and just not great. You want to put as much thought into kind of the presentation of your overall portfolio as you do in your work. So it leaves the best kind of first impression on someone. It's more likely they will continue to look at your portfolio after like the first few seconds they look at it, if it's all nicely tied together and it just looks inviting, right? I've also kind of used a fun trick in mine, which I've never told anyone this before, but I like to kind of color coordinate my projects. So I have the theme going of like different colors. So I have the latest one was pink. I had green, yellow, blue, light blue, and I'm just gonna continue this, but it kind of helps distinguish all the projects from one another, so it's all not the same, and it just looks nicer together. But yeah. Yeah, so I have the same size of text. I have the same kind of Unreal logo at the bottom. I purposely keep all my logos on exactly the same PSD file. So all I need to do once I make a new project is to drag the image into the PSD file, and then I just edit the text, put the little overlay on the bottom, the Unreal logo, and then it's kind of done. And it's consistent all the way throughout. And I can just save that out at exactly the same dimensions. So that's like a really easy trick to get them all looking the same. Yeah, so you don't have to like use the same kind of font at the bottom. You could even use a border if you like, but I like keeping it kind of not super harsh. I know some people have like really bright text at the bottom and like big banners, but I think it's better to let the work kind of speak for itself. Yeah, so don't like go too harsh with it. Same with like the blog posts and stuff. Even this 80 level logo, I kind of kept it like a little bit to the minimum, just so it like fits into the rest. So let's focus in a bit on technical art. That was kind of general advice. And now, so big thing is using kind of environments to enhance your kind of materials and tools that you would make in technical art. So within technical art, there's a lot of like cool tools you can make, but they won't actually be very impressive looking. Like you can make a spline to make a cool pipe system, or you could make a really cool shader that moves some like animals in a particular way, or things like that. But if they're not in the context, it just kind of looks. It doesn't look as good as it could be. It ties it together if you have an environment surrounding it much better. So that's kind of why I like to add a whole kind of scene around mine and just have like really big, prominent tech elements within the bigger kind of environments. You don't have to make your own environments. You can absolutely use kind of mega scans or do like a bit of tech art for like maybe a friend or like some kind of university project that's somebody else is making. There was a couple of people at my university who ended up teaming together for like their final project, and one of them made the whole environment and the other made all the technical elements like the rain shaders and cars and things, and that worked pretty well for them. Just like make sure you credit these and like put it at the bottom so it's very obvious, like I only made this, and full credit goes to this person, and like link them and target them, just so it's very obvious like what you've made and what you haven't. Yeah, this will like give your work a lot of reach. It's so much better to share this kind of stuff on social media as well. I know like most people don't really like interacting with social media all the time, but it's kind of necessary, and that it gives you a lot more job opportunities if you kind of embrace it a bit. You don't have to like talk to people on there all the time, or like engage with any of the drama or anything, because I know there's a lot of that on, for example, Twitter. But just sharing your work, sharing work in progress, and then the final image. Like, it helps a lot, especially if it looks nice. Yeah, I think I had actually my very first job. I got it was the person who worked there at the time reached out to me because they found my work on ArtStation, and I totally that totally wouldn't have happened if I didn't kind of prepare myself in this way and like didn't make sure it was looking good so people would see it, basically. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing. Another huge thing is blogs are totally underrated. Um, it's an amazing way to show breakdowns and a lot of kind of your thinking behind what you make. Uh, you don't necessarily have to go out of your way to like have 80 level articles and things like that. But even just using your blog on ArtStation, or you could even use like there's free websites like Blogger to write your thoughts down, and you can link it somewhere. Um, it just adds so much, uh, just so much thought and process. As well as I had, yeah, the very first job I had, so like the person was also looking at my blog, and then my second job, they actually didn't end up giving me an art test because I had those articles and blogs on my art station. They were like, oh, we don't need to see the skills because we can see you have skills because you've already documented them. It's just, it's like a cheat code. It's great. I highly recommend. I mean, even outside of technical art, it can be a great way to show everything. Touch on a mix of topics. Uh, so a lot of technical artists will end up working on maybe only one or two of the kind of general tech art topics, but it's great to have even like a bit of the other topics in your portfolio just so you can like show that you kind of understand and know them anyway. Um, a lot of studios will have like very specific workflows, and they will only they won't even tell you what they're looking for because it might be like a secret, or they don't want to share NDA stuff. So you might not even like know what kind of studio you're aiming for, but just have like a good few amount of different topics. So I had some two link splines in my latest work. I had some shaders. I'm currently adding some animation characters for characters in my latest work. It's all kind of adding a little bit of everything and seeing what you can add more of. I'm even doing lighting at my work, even though I'm not a lighting artist, but they just gave it to me because I'm like, hey, I'm willing to learn anything, and it's worked out great. So tech art is incredibly versatile role. It's really fun, but yeah, you do end up touching a lot of topics, so be prepared. A very quick summary of everything so far. What makes a good over portfolio? As we've talked, quality over quantity. Make it unique. Best work first. Lots and lots of breakdowns, wireframes, texture sheets, graphs, a mix of screenshots and videos, and something I should have mentioned earlier, preferably larger than 1080p. I like to make mine like 2K and above, because a lot of people in the industry end up having like really big screens, and it just looks nice if your portfolio is like really high quality. Super eye-catching and consistent thumbnails. And on technical art, use supportive environments kind of to enhance your materials and tools and other things. Blogs and articles can be a great way to show skills to employers. Touch on a mix of topics like shaders, tools, optimizations, and all the others. And presentation goes a long way. It really does. I do have a blog on kind of what is technical art and like what can you start with in technical art. If anybody is interested, that's on my ArtStation as well. A little bit of career advice at the end. Preparation and right timing is a game dev job basically. Sometimes studios just like are not hiring at the moment because they're in a particular stage of production and it just could be the wrong timing for them. That doesn't mean you're rejected, it means they're not looking right now. But you could probably reapply at some point later down the line and they might accept you. So it's very much kind of a luck thing and hoping you have the timing right, but it's not really predictable. So it's just you kind of have to keep going until you find someone who is hiring for what you're doing. Especially within tech art, it's like there's so many different types of tech artists that like you have to find a particular job role that kind of they're looking for that you can do, because not everybody can do Unreal, or not everybody can do Houdini or Unity, etc. Be active and present on socials. I did touch on this earlier, but being active on Twitter really helped me get my first job, and even my second job. I got it from first I joined EXP Discord and I was friends with a moderator, and a couple of years down the line, like she ended up referring me, and it was just like the best because we already knew each other, and it was just, yeah, being kind of social and networking really does help, as much as we kind of don't want it to. Like we all want it to be just like apply and you get a job, but it sadly it's such a huge thing that does help in the end. Yeah, posting work in progress stuff and sharing your process and everything, always good. Do not be afraid to learn new software. I was very surprised when I had a very quick interview with my current art director for about an hour, and he didn't tell me much about the job I was going to do, which pretty much just talked about what are your skills and like how do you do at work and how do you do in a particular situation, but he didn't mention that I would be working in Unity, and I had not touched it before, so imagine my surprise when I asked, hey, what program are we using? Like the weekend before my job started, and it was just, hey, we're using Unity, and I'm like, I have to learn this whole new thing. And what I found out is actually it's not that hard. Like, it's very similar actually to Unreal, and yeah, once you have like one program in, it's really not that difficult to learn another. So like, don't be afraid, because I was not applying to Unity jobs all this time, and I could have. Like, it's not that different. So apply anyway. You could still get the job. It doesn't do anything bad if you apply and they just reject you. It's fine. Especially for tech art, apply for roles even above your current level. So they might be looking for a general tech artist or a senior tech artist, but they can't find someone, so they might settle for less. This happened to me in my first job and in my second job, that I applied for a senior, and then I got a junior and a mid role. Especially for tech art, it's just like not enough people to fill the roles, so they will like the list of kind of requirements that they set on job applications is kind of like a wish list. It's not a requirement list for you. So even if you don't have all of the boxes ticked, I would encourage anyone to just like try it anyway and apply anyway, and you might be surprised like how many replies you would get anyway. Also, nothing is certain until a contract is signed. You have to keep applying, because I've heard so many stories of people just being so happy and like, oh my god, I got an interview and I think I passed, and like they said I would get a contract, and then the next Monday they're like, oh no, they told me they can't go with me anymore because they went with someone else, and it's just the most tragic thing every time. And I would, just don't talk about like whatever process you're in, if you're in an interview process, until like a contract is legally signed. Then you could actually be like, okay, it's actually happening. I can talk about it, and I can like set my life up now, and I can stop applying to places. Then it's official. But before that, like, just keep going. Like, you never know what happens. And yeah, the main thing is the portfolio. CVs and cover letters are pretty much just a bonus, but it's still good to make it look good. But yeah, keep your kind of portfolio your main focus. And then I do have some examples of like the CVs that I have. So this was my first job CV. This one's on the left. You could see I was kind of struggling to find any kind of work experience. So I just put down like online art commissions and volunteer moderator, because I literally just didn't have any because of the autism and things. But it worked just fine. On the second one, I actually had some studio experience, so I could put that down, but it's still pretty bare bones. But you do want to keep it as kind of one page and like very short and sweet. Like, you want to communicate as effectively as you can of like, this is me, I know these programs, I have this experience, and like anything else that you want to put down. And just contact information. Also, I do have like on my first CV, I had these icons, but I didn't have the software actually listed. I would highly recommend to actually list the software that you know, because someone in recruiting might not know the logos of the programs, but they will like have a checklist of all the software names. So that's really good to know. Obviously, you don't have to make yours like this artistic or pretty. It could literally be like a white page, but it does look nice. So kind of same rule applies, where it kind of sticks in someone's head, that it's just nice to look at and people will remember it. I hope that was useful, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Nina, for taking the time to share this amazing workshop with us. Head on down to the description to check out their amazing work. And also, we want to express our massive appreciation for all of our Patreon supporters. These workshops and the community are only possible because of your support. So thank you very much. Head on over to beyondexcent.com, where you can find access to our community, environment art resources, and get access to these live Q&A sessions of these workshops. Stay creative, and we'll see you there.